All right, Mikey, can you get that door on your way out?
Yep.
La 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 la.
Here, let me get out of the way. I'm in the way. Give her scoot 1 inch away so Coach gets the whole screen. All right, you guys say when. In 3, 2, oh, hang on a second. In 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody, welcome to PPR podcast number 216. My name is Paul Rudy.
Nice.
And I already committed my first turnover of the afternoon.
There you go.
Thank you. That guy who recovered the fumble is the star of the show, Mr. Bert Grossman, who longtime friend, and well, everybody knows who Bert Grossman is. Bert, who's in the podcast today?
Coach Jason Texler, the new coach of Fallbrook High School.
Coach Texler, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first of all, hold on. You know, Coach is on a spring break, and where are you at, Tennessee?
Yeah, out in Tennessee.
He's doing this from Tennessee right now.
What are you doing? Who's family?
My fiance's got some friends out here we're visiting.
All right. Well, thanks for.
So you'll be used to
we're
that.
doing you the favor. We're getting you away from all that, right, for a little bit. You just can't say that. All right.
Well, that's good though, because Fallbrook's about as far away as Tennessee is, so it'd be good for your commute.
Well, Coach,
I'm
think,
training for it.
Yeah, most everyone recognizes you, Coach, as one of the best offensive minds in the section. You've moved the ball and rung the bell everywhere you've gone, but this stop is a curious one. Tell us why. What about the Fallbrook job attracted you, sir?
I happen to know a lot of the guys that previous head coaches probably over the last decade, and they all really spoke highly of their time there in terms of like community and the kids. And, it's a place, as I'm getting, older, a place where I kind of see where I could finish my career and be at a place where, one horse town where they really get behind the athletics as a whole, not just football, but, where they're going to support the football program and should be exciting.
Well, I just want to follow up on that, because the knock against, and it hasn't been the school's fault, or I don't know the politics of it all, but getting somebody there to plant a seed. What's the saying? It's a generous man who plants a tree that he'll know he won't live long enough to be in the bask in the shade of.
Did you just make that up? I've never heard.
No, that's like some proverb. But okay. Coach Texler, that's been the knock, is that whenever they seem to get something started, and then that coach is gone. They seem to get something started, and that coach is gone. Are you planning on being there indefinitely, or are you going to be leaving at the next best opportunity?
No, I'm at a point in my career, really, I want to kind of find a place where I can settle, and moving around a bunch is not something I want to do. And I want to make this the next best opportunity. So, it's not for me, a stepping stone to anything. Just want an opportunity to run a program again and finish out my career.
Is it feasible? This day and age with the transfer, and everybody's transferring everywhere. There's schools like Fallbrook that will never get a transfer. Ramona will never get a transfer. Is it feasible to build a program in this day and age the way it's laid out for everybody else?
I think you just have to, your expectations of what type of program. I think you can still have quality football. Is it something where where we think we can get the type of athletes to be a every year open division team? No, I don't think that's the case. Just because of the geography of where Fallbrook's at, and we're going to play, I think, almost 100% with Fallbrook kids. But in terms of having a quality program that's competitive at whatever division that they're in, I think that's something that's doable.
That would appeal to me, to have it's kind of like the way it was supposed to be, having a neighborhood team. And I think, to your point, Bert, I think you're insulated from that. Most people, when they transfer, it's because there's a school nearby they can get to. Yeah. But if you're in Fallbrook, I don't care what the other opportunities are. You still have to travel that. Yeah. So are you somewhat insulated from the transfer craze that is going on in high school sports?
I think Fallbrook has lost some kids, to Temecula or to the Vista area. I don't know how many football kids. I think they've maybe lost a few, but for the most part, those kids are gonna go to Fallbrook High, and it's just getting as many of the good athletes on the campus to participate in football. And whenever you have a down year or two, kids nowadays maybe they don't want to be part of that. But it's trying to get them to understand, well, the only way we're going to turn it around is if we get the good players, the good athletes to come out for football. But not having to maybe worry or deal with the kids transferring in or transferring out at this point in my career is something that I'm looking forward to, actually.
Yeah, I would think that would be. I mean, you're somewhat insulated from it. I'm sure there's some.
Well, somewhat. I guess for you it's similar. My first year coaching that I decided to coach, I went to Castle Park and we played you guys in your El Cajon Valley. And at that time, El Cajon Valley was known for not having any players pretty much. And then I think you beat us by like 40 some points and then went on to the championship. But so I guess it's possible. I mean, you did it there.
Yeah, it's a different setup now with the way CIF is. Although, I think about if we had the setup that we have now back then, we probably would have won a CIF championship at El Cajon Valley, but we wouldn't have been in Division II playing Oceanside in the finals. We probably would have been in Division, 3 or 4 or something. But yeah, it's doable. And just a couple of years ago, Fallbrook made it to the finals, in a lower division. But, I think if you get a good group of kids and so much of it has kind of determined on who you play and their record at the end as to what division you get put into. But really the kids want to win, and I don't know, yeah, it'd be great to win an open title, but I think just being part of a title team at any level will be exciting and something that the kids would want to be part of. So my expectations and what I'm going to try to do is breed a culture of competition, that we try to be as competitive as we can on the field, in the weight room, in the classroom. And then we'll just let the chips fall where they may, whatever division we fall into. Hopefully it's something where we can be competitive and make a run in the playoffs. And, if we got that good group and stay healthy, maybe we'll have a chance to play for a title.
Coach, you're pretty well known in these parts for what you're able to do with X's and O's. When people heard that you were going to Fallbrook, did that raise some eyebrows as far as maybe a few more kids coming out for football?
Honestly, I haven't been up there a ton because I'm still teaching at San Marcos. I don't know what the excitement level is. I do know, regardless of how well the team's done in the past, whenever there's a change, there tends to be a little excitement for kids wanting to come out because they kind of feel it's a clean slate. I hope the kids are excited. I know there's a pretty good young group. Fallbrook ended up, due to injuries, having it's like something like 5 to 8 freshmen have to play some varsity time last year. And the 8th grade group that's coming in is supposed to be pretty athletic. So, hopefully we'll have a good base and then get some of those other kids on campus interested in Fallbrook football.
Yeah, you're like the Deion Sanders of Fallbrook now.
Yeah.
You just come in there and bring all your
I don't wear all the jewelry, though.
So that, I mean, you've been at San Marcos, ton of athletes, ton of speed. You've been at El Camino, ton of athletes, ton of speed. The last couple of years, do you try to do the same things that you did with those teams at Fallbrook, or do you just have to totally scrap it and work with the personnel and then, adjust the offense to them? Yeah, you're going to run the wishbone?
No, I don't think we're going to run the wishbone. I think, yeah, you have to, if you're going to do a good job as a coach, you have to adjust to your talent. That I don't know what we have. If it means we have to, run the ball the majority time, then we'll run it. If we can throw it, then we'll throw it. I mean, when we played this last year at El Camino, we had to play Mount McGill, and we threw the ball 2 times, which is, not something I normally do, but you got to do what you need to do to win. So, honestly, I can't tell you exactly what we're going to do offensively. And, I think for every school, unless you're just getting the same type of kids year in and year out, your system's going to change somewhat. I'm hoping to, as I get to know the kids, utilize and take advantage of the talents they have and what type of offense that ends up looking like. Hopefully it ends up looking like one that's successful.
So are you going to move up there?
We have about, right now my fiance and I are renting a place. So we have about a year on our lease. After that, the plan is to move up closer. I don't know if we'll move right into Fallbrook or Bonsall or even I guess the northern part of Vista, but somewhere, yeah, definitely closer. Right now I live in Rancho Bernardo, so it'll be a bit of a trek.
Yeah, I mean, that's a commitment to your automobile, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, going back to that, you brought up the El Camino Mount Miguel game where you threw the ball twice, which was, I remember you from the early days at El Camino Valley when you didn't even run the ball twice in a game. And then to go all the way, we're 15 years later and you're doing it is pretty, I guess that answers my question that you adjust to what you have.
Yeah, I think you're not doing your job as a coach if you don't. I mean, had we tried to throw the ball against them even 50% of the time, we would have lost that game. And they're built for that. And but the guys that we had, we could be physical and run the ball and control the clock. And my license plate says pass the ball, so that's what I'd prefer to do. But I got to do what's going to work with our kids and give us the best chance to win.
Honest God, it's pass the ball?
Yeah, that's what it says, pass the ball.
And then you go out and pass it twice in a playoff game.
Right. We only completed one of those two. So.
Well, what would your personalized plate be?
Loser.
I don't know. I'll have another?
Yeah. No, make it a double. What would yours be?
So, Coach, one of the challenges, when I heard the news, I tried to put myself in your cleats, if you will, a coaching whistle, and I thought, okay, it would be cool to have a neighborhood excited about me showing up, but the hard part to me would be getting a staff together, or is there already a staff there that you kind of inherit?
There's a good group of guys, and actually Coach Johnson, the last head coach, has been doing a great job of helping me because he's still teaching there for the remainder of this semester, of giving me information about the coaches. When you're in a town like that, you're going to draw mainly from the guys that you have, and there's still a good group of coaches from that staff. There's a couple more that we're adding, and so it's just going to take us a little time to get to know each other. But a lot of the guys are diehard Fallbrook football guys, so they love the school, they love the community, they love the kids, and those guys have way more insight into the athletes than I would because I'm not up from that area.
So how are you received, being that you're this young whippersnapper with the fancy X's and O's downstate, if you will,
with a personalized plate,
with a personalized plate, and maybe some of them even wanted the job. I don't know how that played out. You can speak to that. But are you warmly received, or you feel like the new kid at school?
The coaches have been great. They just want to get Fallbrook football going back again. That they had success a couple years ago, and then with the way the leagues change, and what had happened is 3 years ago they made it to the finals. They won their league, went to the finals, and then they got put into a tougher league and graduated all those players. And then this last year had some injuries and ended up having to play a ton of freshmen. So it was kind of the perfect storm of bad things to happen. It wasn't, bad coaching or anything like that. It was just, getting put into a new league. And this next year we're back in the Valley League. We have a schedule that I think we have opportunity to be competitive. Last year they played La Costa Canyon, Great Oak, so just size-wise, the type of kids that they have, it would have been a tough schedule for most of the teams in San Diego County. So the coaches just want they want to get it going again and win some ball games. And so I think we're all in the we all have the same mindset. We just want to get it going in the right direction. Not that it was really going in a wrong direction, but whenever you have a losing season, you got to kind of patch some stuff up and get going again.
Is there any more, I guess, it used to be you'd manage expectations when you got a new job. You have 2 or 3 years you have to build. Now even in college with NIL and transfer, and high school with transfer, does anybody get to manage expectations anymore? Or do you just have to, don't get any leeway? I'm going to build this program, give me 2, 3, 4 years, or is it just immediate? But you don't have that. You don't have the luxury of transfer, so you're not going to get that. But does anybody manage expectations anymore and be patient?
I think Fallbrook could be a little bit different situation in the fact that, like you guys mentioned, they have gone through head coaches, fairly quickly every 3-4 years. I think they are looking really more for consistency, both in the coaching staff and with the team. It's not like they told me, hey, we need to, go to the CIF championship this year or anything like that. I think, if the program's being run good, kids are excited about it, and, myself and the staff, we're doing the right things. I think we have as much time as we need, but, like anything, you need to win, pretty early on or players will just stop listening, because it kind of comes down to your wins and losses. So hopefully we can have some success early, get kids bought in, and then, be able to build off of that.
My impression of the typical Fallbrook kid is they're kind of usually come from like almost a military background, and they're just tougher. They're a tough bunch. Maybe undersized, maybe not fleet of foot, but they're just tough kids. It seems to me a coach could play off that. First of all, is my assessment accurate? Correct me if I'm not, but it seems like they're a rough and tumble bunch.
I do think it's a blue collar type group. Either have a military background or some farming background. And what's nice, which you're seeing less and less of, it's a lot of multi-sport athletes. Kids that play 2 or 3 sports. So you get that kid that's a probably better developed athlete overall. But yeah, he's not doing football year round. But it's a little bit more of the older school, like back when, we were in high school, where a kid's going to play 2 or 3 sports. And so it's kind of more that. But a lot of people, a lot of the kids there, their parents went there, their parents played there. And so you get definitely a lot of pride in wearing Fallbrook colors.
Yeah, it's similar, like I said earlier, to Ramona. It's just kind of you.
Yeah, and
the exact same kind of kids, exact same kind of
Valley
town.
Center too. I mean.
Yeah, and they've been built before. You gotta get Damon Baldwin in there and give you the blueprint for success.
So
yeah, exactly.
Like Coach, I've always wanted to be what you are, a high school coach. That was always my career goal, but it didn't work out for me. But I've always wondered, like, if you said, okay, Jason Texler is going to be out for 6 weeks and you have to run his program for him, like building a practice schedule and where does that all come from? Do you sit down with a blank piece of paper and say, okay, this is how long we're going to stretch for, and when you map out a workout, typical practice, how do you do that? Is it all from your prior experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it's prior experience, but I'll be honest, just like anything in football, a lot of it's borrowed or stole, however you want to say. I mean, there's so many coaches out there that are willing to help. And when I was younger, that was probably the one positive about me was I wasn't afraid to go out and go to a school or call a coach, and those guys, shared with me their practice plans and so all that stuff I've developed from borrowing it from, quality coaches like Matt Logan up at Corona Centennial, Troy Starr. They've all been real helpful in the development of, I guess my coaching organization and my coaching philosophy. And Mr. Rudy, when you said you wanted to be like me, I thought you were going to say bald. And, all you need is some clippers.
No, I just have always wanted to do what you do. That was my goal. I never could figure out how to do it. And the teaching requirement was
I want to bring it. So, every coach is how many periods are they going to make you teach while you're trying to build this and get new kids out? What's your load on the schedule?
That's the thing, for the most part in California, you're a teacher full time and then you get paid a stipend as a coach. So I'm going to be a full-time teacher, still kind of working out the details as to what I'm going to teach. But yeah, I'll be a full-time teacher and a coach. Now they do have 2 periods of football class, so I'll be involved in that. So there'll still be time where, I'm doing just football and I've never, and I never will be it's not like I'm going to be an AP chemistry teacher or anything like that, so, my teaching, assignment, I don't think will be as demanding as, some of those teachers that are teaching, high level math, science, English, all that. But, no, I'll still have to teach every day and that's just something, you have to work out the balance of being a teacher and being a coach and make sure you're doing a good job at both.
So after you do your honors Spanish class, you said you have 2 football periods, right?
Yes, correct.
Are they the last 2 periods in the day?
Yeah, they have they're the last 2. Basically, it's like a freshman class and then the varsity class. So, and then those, butt up right to the end of the day. So you get to see them right before you get out on the field. And
give us, because I always hear about to have a football period. What do you guys actually do in the football class? Is it just weight training or is it going over film? What do you do?
It varies. In season, it's going to be a combination of, a couple days a week in the weight room. And then the other time is, film, meetings, sometimes study hall, make sure that the kids are getting their school handled. Off season, it tends to be more, lifting and speed development. And then you'll integrate